knowledge of birth is what you see in TV in Hollywood, right? A woman's water breaks, she rushes to the hospital, she screams, she squeezes her partner's hands a few times, and then the baby is out. That is not how labor works at all.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Aurelia Michael Holmgren here. Welcome back to my channel. Businesswoman, bodybuilder, babe, Bronx girl, and future baby mama. And today I'm so excited because y'all already know I've done a video on how to find the perfect doula. And today my doula is here, so please introduce yourself to the community.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sharon Jensen-Cody. I am a birth doula and sleep consultant. I, in my past life, was a research scientist, and I recently transitioned to birth work full-time, and I've been loving it, loving supporting women like you. So I'm excited to be here.
All right. So here are some questions I wanted to ask her. If you have more questions that you want me to ask, please put them in the comments below. So the first question is, what exactly does a doula do? And how is it different from nurses, midwives? Because a lot of times when I tell people I have a doula, they're like, oh, like a midwife?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
you're having birth at home? Yeah.
Yes. So their first question.
Yes. So I'm going to start with what a doula does not do. So doulas are not medical providers. We don't give medical advice. We're not doing cervical checks. We're not doing anything that a midwife or an OB would do. So midwife and an OB, obviously, they deliver babies. They catch the babies. They do all the prenatals and all of that. A doula is really a support person. We come alongside you during pregnancy. If we're a birth doula, postpartum. If you're a postpartum doula, some doulas are full spectrum and they do both. So myself specifically, I am a birth doula. So we've been working together for a few months now, which has been so much fun. I pride myself on education. So we do a lot of education because I think knowledge is power. So we have a number of prenatals that we'll go through and just literally explain all things about pregnancy, labor, delivery, and postpartum. And then obviously we join you day of during labor, either at your home or at the hospital, and we go through labor with you. So we're putting you in different positions. We're doing counter pressure, breathing and relaxation techniques. We're doing a bunch of stuff to just essentially let labor progress. For doulas, or if you're birthing with the doula, you have a increased chance of having a more successful birth. So that just means that, or vaginal delivery, I should say. That means that your rate of C-section goes down tremendously. And we're able to advocate for you with the medical system. A lot of people have white coat syndrome and they think that they have to kind of abide by every single thing that their provider is saying. Obviously, the provider is the expert in the room, so we need to respect that. But at the same time, you do have options and choices, and we're able to kind of walk you through what options and choices that you have. So we're really just, support people that help you get through pregnancy, but then also labor and delivery. And then I mentioned postpartum doulas. They'll come alongside you postpartum, so after baby comes, and they'll help you and baby kind of transition into that fourth trimester and into parenthood.
And I was telling Adam, who's behind the camera, after our first meeting, I was like, how are people doing this without the support? She was like, do you know about this? Do you know about that? I'm like, no, like all these options. And then I guess when you don't know your options, then you end up just kind of going with whatever the person in the room says to go with.
You essentially allow the birth to just happen to you instead of, and we're never in control of labor and delivery because these babies have a mind of their own.
Baby wanna do.
But again, information and knowledge is power, so you're able to navigate your birth in the way that you want.
And I feel like I won't remember position and change this and oh my gosh, okay.
Yes, that's what we're here for.
Love. All right, question number 2. What are some of the biggest benefits you've seen moms have from having a doula with them during delivery?
Yeah, so like I said, the number one benefit, well, I guess there's a few benefits, but the first one is that advocacy piece of just, again, allowing or educating you on the choices that you have and the options that you have, and then advocating for you in the hospital. So for example, if you're someone who wants to go unmedicated and you're saying, you know what, I don't want to have an epidural, we are there to kind of stand by. We're there to kind of stand by that and to help you get through, your birth without an epidural. a lot of times, and if you're birthing at a hospital, obviously the epidural is there, right? And so it kind of feels like the carrot is kind of dangling in front of you. And sometimes the nurses, with, not any type of ill intent, will offer you that epidural and continue to kind of like pester you a little bit of saying like, oh, but the epidural is right there. But, whenever you need it, right? And so we can always step in and be like, hey, this is the birth plan. Can you please respect that she doesn't even want to hear the word epidural so that you're not kind of enticed into it. Same thing with, like if you want Pitocin, if you don't want Pitocin, if you don't want cervical checks, we're able to kind of navigate that process with you. And if you have a partner as well, like I always say that the partner should be the first one to speak up because it gives you ownership over your birth. I don't want to take over and be another kind of like authority figure there. I want you guys to own it together. So I'll teach you how to advocate. But if I need to step in, I most definitely will. And then, like I said, we just have better birth outcomes with doulas, right? And so if you want to go unmedicated, you have an increased likelihood of going unmedicated. Your, chance of a C-section goes down. All the intervention, your chances of having multiple interventions also goes down. So, and then I think just even having confidence. Like a lot of people who have doulas just have a little bit of swag to them just because you're like, okay, I'm going in with all of this information, right?
Army.
And so when your nurse is talking about, oh, like, do you want AROM or, like to break your water, you already know exactly what that means. And you already know like, no, I don't want this, or yes, I do want it, right? You're not kind of fumbling in the moment of like, oh, well, I don't even know what that is. So sure, just do it to me. So yeah, I would say those are the three main
And I'm
benefits.
excited about like the music. You talk about like music.
Oh yeah. So we set the room up real nice. Like that's one of my favorite parts. A lot of time, not actually like all the time, when a provider, let's say a nurse, the anesthesiologist, the OB will come in the room after I've arrived and set everything up, and they literally, the first thing they do is, oh my God, this is beautiful. It feels like a spa, literally every single time. Unless they're a hater. Sometimes I do run into, exactly. Sometimes I do run into,
it's a little dark in here.
Exactly. But most of them are like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And obviously you appreciate that in your partner because it's a very calming environment. And it's like we in labor, we want to make sure we're calm and feeling protected and all of that. So we also set you up. It's not just for Instagram, I promise. It really is for,
but it'll be up there. Cool.
It really is for like, like you getting through labor.
I love it. All right, next question. What has your experience been like being a Black doula? What do you think about in terms of representation, why it is important, particularly now? But I mean, over time with just how Black women are treated and or not treated in the healthcare system.
Yes. So I'm going to preface this by saying I love all the moms I work with. I love this job so much that I always like, one of the moms I worked with, in her review, she said, if you want someone that, like feels like a sister, but is a knowledgeable sister, go with Sharon. And I'm like, that's exactly like, I embrace everyone like my sister and like my family. So that's just that. But then when I work with a Black woman, I just love it so much. I love it. So yes, I love representing just this, like being a Black doula, because there's not too many of us. So just being able to step into this space, and especially with my background in science and just stepping in this space a little bit more confidently, I feel like other doulas might. It gives me a little bit of swag just because I'm like, yes, like I'm educated, okay? I'm educated. But secondly,
I earned that education too. So we're clear. It wasn't given to me.
3 letters. Secondly, though, in all seriousness, there is obviously I want to call it an epidemic with Black women birthing in the U.S. The statistics are there for you to look up if you haven't heard of it. Black women are, getting birth trauma, injured, dying at rates, I think it's 3 times as much as, white women. And so that one needs to be talked about and addressed. I think there's some kind of history with Black women in particular with pain, right? Sometimes a provider, and I actually just ran into this with a client where they weren't believing she was even in pain, right? They were like, oh, we don't think you're in active labor because you're not kind of acting like it, right? But the only way you're actually going to know if a woman is in active labor is if you do a cervical check and you see if she's in active labor. And they refused to do a cervical check because they were like, we don't think you're in active labor. Was this because she was Black or just the provider? I don't know, but it happens, right? It's one of those things that you kind of like, you always have to like side eye it a little bit.
Yeah.
And so just being in the room, and obviously I advocated for her, like we got her settled. But it's one of those things that I feel like I do go above and beyond for Black women or women of color because we just generally need it a little bit more.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Final question. Why would you say it is worth it to have a doula? Because I know also some healthcare don't cover it. Mine, thank goodness, covers a large portion of it, but many don't.
Yeah.
And many people don't know or haven't seen free resources. How would you say it is worth the investment? Because some people can feel like, well, we're not really doing anything up until the birth. So I'm really just paying you. And I'm just thinking if people are watching this, I'm really just paying you to be there for a few hours,
Yeah.
Why is the investment worth it?
Yeah, I mean, for all the reasons I've already said, but yes, to your point, it is an investment, right? It's something that it is a privilege to have a doula. It shouldn't be that way, but if you don't have the extra coins, right, you're not going to hire a doula because just one, giving birth in this country is already way too expensive. And so it is a privilege to have a doula. I'll start off by saying that. But it's worth it because we don't live in a village anymore, right? Yeah. We're not seeing our cousins and sisters and whoever else and our friends give birth. So we literally have no idea what happens during birth. A lot of people's kind of like knowledge of birth is what you see in TV in Hollywood, right? A woman's water breaks, she rushes to the hospital, she screams, she squeezes her partner's hands a few times, and then the baby is out. That is not how labor works at all. Labor can sometimes take days. There's different positions that you need to be in to allow labor to progress. And again, we just don't know, right? And so if we go into it blind and without that support and without that knowledge, you're again just letting labor happen to you. And yes, like at the end of the day, you probably will have a baby and everything will be great. But it's that experience that there's a lot of birth trauma out there. There's a lot of like just things that happen with birth. It's already very vulnerable and intimate. You don't want that added like negative experience because you take that into postpartum that, can lead into postpartum anxiety, depression, psychosis that leads to bonding issues with baby, right? You just don't want any of that trauma. So having a doula there with you again just gives you that confidence and gives you, the stats are there of like the benefits of having a doula. So I highly recommend, even if it's not me, right? Like hire a doula. There's a lot of us out there. There's a doula for everyone. So if you're more in the kind of, we call them woo doulas, there's no shade in that. But if you're like more in the kind of like spiritual doula, you can have that. If you're more of the evidence-based doula, you can have that. There's usually some in the middle, right? There's a doula for everyone. So I highly recommend if you can afford one, definitely hire one. And a lot of us actually, like, if you can't afford us, we'll make something happen. So,
and a lot of times too, something I did, I had a group of people saying, how can we help? And I had them,
yes, you can have a doula fund. Yes,
a doula fund already, so you don't have to wait until you're showing to be like, hey, if you want to, put my Cash App on here and go ahead and drop $20. Anything that you can.
A lot of people are doing that. Yeah, so anything will help. But and you can also there's just a lot of different like doulas out there. You can have a doula that just does one prenatal visit and then does the birth, or you can do a lot of prenatal visits. It's just whatever you want. But definitely try and get a doula.
And tell them where they can find you.
Oh, yes. Yes. So I'm Doula Diligence _ on Instagram, douladiligence.com. Just head to my website and I can talk to you there and give you all the information you need.
Thank y'all for watching. And don't forget, like, comment, share, subscribe. You gotta like, comment, share, subscribe. Don't make your girl beg. And yes, I'm still gonna say my line. Age does not define your timeline. You do.